Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Magic Box. So in this video we're going to pick up on the RGB light that we learned about last time, and I'm going to start off working on some of these challenges that I gave you. Alright, so the first one was, if you look at the screen here, we want to make the police car light pattern, which is going to be red and then blue, like that. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so going back to my loop here, one thing here, we did end up on the AnalogWrite, which was being able to change the intensity or the brightness of the light, going from digital, which is up here, to analog. So we'll do that. We're going to need that in the challenges, challenge 3, but we're gonna change the intensity of the light in challenge 3. But for now, we're not going to change the intensity of the light. It's just going to be fully on or fully off. But we're still going to use AnalogWrite. Okay. So I want to do some functions because it's going to help us later. So we need a red. So I'm going to do void RGB red. Okay, which is going to be, just going to cut that just like that. Analog, the red pin is 255, and if you remember, we have these macros here that we assigned up here. Okay, so we don't have to remember the pin number. We can just remember, just type red, and it'll automatically know to put pin 3. Okay, so that's for our red, and then you want to remember to turn all the other ones off. So blue is 0 for off, and I forgot to mention 255 for analog is all the way on, and 0 for analog is all the way off. Again, we talked about this a bit in the previous video. Okay, and then green is also off. Okay. Cool, and we also need a blue. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this because a lot of it's going to be the same, right? And I'll call this RGB blue, and the only thing I change here is red is 0, blue is 255, green is 0. Okay, all right, and since I'm already like doing this, let's copy that and let's do RGB green. Okay, so red is 0, blue is 0, all off, and the green is 255. Okay, and we also have an RGB off that turns all of them off, and we use digital right here. Since I'm using analog now, let's just go ahead and change it up. So we use all analog, right? So I'm copy and pasting analog here, and instead of low, we put the lowest number, which is 0. There. Okay, so now we're all using analog, right? Less confusing. All right, and we don't need this stuff. So in our loop now, we're going to go RGB blue, okay, and then RGB green. No, red. All right, now we've played with this before. We know if we do this without any delays, it's just going to be too fast. But I'm just curious what it's going to look like. I'll just upload here. Okay, you see over there. Okay, so it looks like they're both kind of just on. And you can see I put this box here, so you can kind of better see the mixing of the colors. Okay, and I don't know if you can tell, but again, it's not perfect, but the red and the blue on, I kind of see a little purplish texture. Okay, but that's not what we want. We want blue, because red and blue together is going to give you kind of a purple. Now I want to be red first, or sorry, blue first. So then I'm going to add a delay, I don't know, 500, half a second. Then then I need to turn it off, right? So RGB, or do I need to turn it off? We'll see. Let's just do this. RGB blue, delay, RGB red, delay. And then I do need to turn it off, I think. Yeah, so then I do RGB off. RGB off. Okay. Let's try this and see what happens here. Yeah, that's cool. It's pretty good actually. And maybe it's a little faster, you know. Think about when you get pulled over for a speeding ticket or something, right? It's a little faster. Let's go 250. I think that's pretty good. There we go. All right, so we got the red and blue going. It looks pretty cool against the box. So I recommend if you're trying to do this, like put it, have the light bounce off something, and you're able to see it better. Okay, the next one is red blink, green blink, blue blink. Okay, we should do that. So red blink would be RGB red, and then delay 500, let's say, and then turn it off, right? Then blue, we already have that. We'll do 500 to keep it consistent. And then green. Excuse me. Okay, let's try this, see what this looks like. Red, blue, green. Okay, so red, green, blue actually I wanted, right? So I can fix that easily. Now, I don't see it blink. It's just kind of like on and then off. So what I can do, let's first fix this. It goes red, green, blue, right? But what I want here is I want to do maybe add a delay after this so that I can see what's going on, right? So it's on, and then it turns off, and then it waits a little bit so that there's nothing before the next one turns on. Okay, which makes sense. If you remember, we did the blinking code. You got 4 lines per blink, right? On, wait, off, wait. I think that should give us what we want here. There we go. Yeah, now you can see the blinking, right? Okay. All right, I'm gonna save this. I always forget that I want to save this code here. So RGB blink, okay. That's something you can do too. You can save on this, click OK, and then you can open it by clicking load and finding your file, okay? Just kind of a FYI there. All right, so we got that. What's next? Colors of the rainbow Roy G. Biff. Okay. I have this color picker. I kind of did this split screen so that it's easy for you to see, okay? And the website of that is right here, all right? And let's try it. So starts with red. All right, so RGB red, and then we need, I'm just gonna do this, RGB orange, RGB yellow, RGB green. So sometimes there's another way to code, is that you put the functions in there in your loop, and then you fill in what the functions actually are later. RGB red, RGB green. What am I doing here? blue. We're gonna need a indigo. And a violet. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. And then we want to turn it off after as well, right? And what we all need a delay. We'll do 1 second. All right, so you want to make it red, keep it red for 1 second, and then turn it off. And then let's keep on doing it like that. Same thing, copy and pasting. All right, cool. So RGB red I already have. Let's do RGB orange. So void RGB orange. Okay, now my color picker here, if I go look on my top right here, orange, I'm gonna slide this down to like here, and then I'm gonna move this around like, okay, this is pretty orange. So it says red 255, green 205. So I'm gonna copy this because I'm gonna use that. So red is 255, green is 205, and blue is 0. And I'm gonna do this so that it's in the right order that matches my little website thing. So it goes red, green, blue, just so I can just copy these numbers like that. Okay, there's orange. We'll see how it goes, right? All right, but let's do now yellow. I'm just gonna do them all right now. Usually we kind of do a little bit and then we test it. We go, but today I just feel like mix it up a little bit. Let's just try to do it all at once. We can always fix it later, right? All right, so yellow. Then I'm gonna move my little thing here. Yellow. I want it super yellow. So red is 222. Green is 255. Okay. You see, like the orange and the yellow are pretty close. Yeah, we'll see. All right, let me turn off this light here. Maybe distracting you. Okay. So there might not be a huge difference between orange and yellow, but we'll see. We can always adjust it later. Okay, I'm gonna copy this because I need to do. Okay, green we already have. Blue we already have. Let's do indigo, which is what, like, is it like a light blue or something? Okay. I'm gonna just try to do like a light blue like this. Okay. 0, 0, 247, 255. Okay. Okay, and then violet. We're almost done. That's cool. Okay, copy this. Violet. Let's move my little part of the purple area. Okay, looks pretty purple. Violet. Okay. Oh, this is my copy. So RGB violet. It's gonna be red is 179. Green is 0. Blue is 255. Okay, let's upload this and just see what happens. All right, I'm oh, plug it in. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, let's upload. Excuse me. Let's see what we get here. Red, blue, purple. Okay, so some of the colors a little bit harder to see, but definitely I'm seeing the purple come out and I think that indigo is really nice too. You can see that it's that it's pretty, it's pretty different, pretty distinct, right? It's like see that light blue and then violet. Okay, and I think the orange I could tell too. So I'm gonna just leave it like that, but what I'll say is, you can fine tune it, right? So these numbers, right? So like, let's say my orange, which is coming up right, indigo, violet, this. I feel like my orange could be, I'm like, what color should I turn up in order to make it a little bit more? Maybe I feel like it should be a little more green for my orange. So then I can go to my orange and be like, maybe 205, maybe it should be like 235 or something, and then see if you can get a little bit more orange. But the idea is just to get familiar with the fact that the RGB is able to give you all these different colors. Just a little fact: the LEDs in those TVs, the flat screen TVs, flat panel TVs, are basically a bunch of these RGB lights, very, very small. And what they're able to do is, like, those RGB lights are able to create all the different colors, which are called pixels, right? All these little lights, and then together they're able to make an image, which is what you see on the screen. Okay, obviously it's more complex and the colors look more exact and all that, but it's the same idea that we have here. So this is like what we're doing here is kind of like that one of the many lights on a TV. By the way, when you hear 4K, like 4K HD TV, like, what does that mean? It means that across the screen you have 4,000 of these little lights. Okay, so that's, you can imagine how small those are. But that's what you need. You need a bunch of little, really small lights in order to make all these different colors and make it look super high definition. Okay, all right, so we have that going. I'm gonna pause this for now. Let's do something fun here. I'm gonna save this RGB rainbow, I guess. Okay, so what I want to do now is talk about some fading. Okay, so if you look at my lights right here, it's like you have one color and then automatically just goes to the next color. So how do you make it smooth? So let's go back to the police car thing. Okay, so that's just red and blue. Okay, I'll make it slow with the, oh no, I don't want this delay here. I don't think, I just want it like this. Okay, so this will just be red to blue. Let's make sure. Okay, so you see how it goes red and then all of a sudden just like blue and then back to red. I want to make it fade like it goes red and then slowly transitions into blue, and then the blue slowly transitions into red by changing the intensity of the lights slowly over time. So how do we do that? So what you have to do is you need to fade it by slowly changing these numbers here. Okay, all right, so let's try it out. So we have red right here. Okay, and then we have blue right here. All right, I'm trying to think how to do this. Let's just copy this. Okay, and instead of the RGB red function, let's put this here. Okay, we know that this is red. Okay, and let me think here. Do we need RGB off? Maybe not. Maybe not. If we're gonna do this, we'll see. Okay, so we know that this does red. Okay, now in order to get blue, let's get RGB blue. this one. Okay. 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 So here is the same thing we had before, but without the functions. I just wanted to put the AnalogWrite straight in there, so that we can demonstrate how this is done. All right. So if we look at here, the red starts at 255, but then it needs to become 0, right? So we need to slowly bring the red from 255 to 0. How are we going to do that? We're going to use a while loop. Okay. So we're going to say while, oh, let's use our counter, right? Int, actually, we're going to put up here, int counter. Okay. We're going to put our counter up here. And then, so then now here, you can use counter, right? So first we're going to say counter equals 255, because that's where it is here, okay? And then we're going to say while counter is greater than 0, okay, I'm like thinking of this as I'm doing it. We're going to do some stuff in here, okay? And we're going to say AnalogWrite red, comma, counter. Okay. And then, you're sticking with me, we're going to say counter equals counter minus 1. All right, you feeling me? You going? Okay, so we start the counter variable at 255 because the red starts at 255, and then we start doing this while loop. It says if counter, which is 255 in the beginning, if it's greater than 0, then do this. Okay, so it's just gonna make red 255, right? But then after that, it says counter equals counter minus 1. So it decrements or subtracts 1, so it becomes 254, right? So then I'll go back here. Is 254, which is what the value of counter, greater than 0? Yes. And then it's going to AnalogWrite red, but then 254 now. And it's going to keep going, keep going, keep going until counter becomes 0. At some point, it's going to keep subtracting. Once it becomes 0, is 0 greater than 0? No. And then it's done. Okay? Then it's going to jump out of here. So let's try this for the red, okay? And see what happens here. Just wonder what's going to happen here. Let's see what happens with the red. Okay, no difference. Probably because I need to put a delay in here. It's like, okay, how long do you want to wait between each analog value, right? So it goes 254. Let's wait like, I don't know, 10 milliseconds, and then it'll do 253, and then wait another 10 milliseconds, and so forth. Let's see how that looks. Check it out. Did you see that? You can see that the red slowly just fades down. That's pretty cool. Okay, so the red looks like it's working, but then the blue, what needs to happen with the blue? The blue starts at 0 and then needs to go to 255. Okay, so this one, I'm putting a comment here, turns red off basically, right? Now this next one we want to do when it says turns the blue on. So that's going to be, I'm going to copy this, or you know what, I won't copy it, I'll just type it, less confusing. So counter equals blue, which is this one, okay? So which is at 0, because blue starts at 0. So, and then we're going to do while counter is less than 256, less than 256. It's always confusing. Like these are basically at the end. I think that's right. Okay. Well, counter is less than 256. Let's AnalogWrite blue, comma counter. Okay. Now this first one here, we were turning the red off, so we started at a high number, 255, and then we kept going down. Okay? But this one we're starting at 0 and we want to go up. So it's going to be counter equals counter plus 1. And then let's also put our delay 10. Okay. So then now I can, so now it's gonna go from 0 to 255, right? Yeah. Okay. And I think, anyways, I'll get to that anyway. So yeah, this seems correct. All right. So once it gets to, once counter becomes 256, then it'll come out of the while loop and then move forward. All right, let's see what happens. Red fading, blue fading. You see that? The blue turned on. Red fading, blue fading. Cool. I'm gonna give it a little bit more delay, just so it's more dramatic. So I'm gonna do a 20. Look at that fade. All right, and then the blue comes. That's pretty cool. Okay, but you see how the red though, it just goes on. It doesn't fade on, right? So let's also add the fading of the red. Okay, so because here goes on to 255, right? But we want to fade it on. So I'm gonna make another area, red on. Okay, so we're gonna start it at 0. Okay. And then our while loop, while counter is, we gotta turn it on. So that's less than 256. We're gonna go from that 0 to 255. So while it's less than 256, and then let's do our AnalogWrite red, comma counter. Okay, and then counter equals counter plus 1, because we're incrementing, going from 0 to a higher number, and then delay 20. All right, so now I should have it fade on. The red will fade on too from 0 to 256, and then it'll keep going. Okay. Let's see what we see here. Okay, red's coming on slowly. Red's turning off slowly. Blue's coming on slowly. And I think and then what? Interesting. Then I got a purple. Oh, see, what I see here is I never the blue, see. So I turn the red on here, right, slowly, but I never turn the blue off. I should turn the blue off first and then fade on the red. But since the blue kept on, I got this kind of purple effect too, which is kind of cool. So I think the next thing I want to try is it possible to make a function? Because you see that like this code is kind of repeated over and over again. So that's one thought. Let's make a function. That'll be the last thing I do. Let's try to make it clean up our code, so that we could do that. Now the other thing I just saw here is that I think this is not correct. It does probably, you can't tell that's not correct, but I don't think it's correct because I want to go from 255 to 0. So I actually want it to say AnalogWrite 0, but if you look at my while condition, it'll say, let's say it gets to 1. Is 1 greater than 0? Yes. Then it's going to do AnalogWrite 1. And then counter becomes 0. But then once it goes back again, it goes 1 to 0 because we're decrementing, so we're subtracting. Once it says, is 0 greater than 0? No. So then it doesn't go here. It jumps down to here. So it never gets to AnalogWrite 0 if I do it this way. It should be, so I should say counter greater than or equal to. Okay, that's what I noticed earlier, but I didn't want to, confuse you early on. Okay, so sorry about that. I got that wrong. So if you actually wanted to get to 0, you got to say greater than or equal to 0. And then over here, since we use greater than or equal to, I would just also use greater than or equal to here. Or sorry, less than or equal to here. In that case, this should be 255. Okay, and then same thing up here. Since we're using the less than or equal to and greater than equal to, let's do that here and change it to 255. Okay. All right. So, how can we make a function? All right. So now we're gonna make a function that's gonna take in parameters. So before, what does that mean? So before we have these functions like RGB Violet. Okay. But there's nothing inside here. Okay, we're gonna start putting stuff in there because what our function does depends on what we want it to do. So we got to give it some more information. Those are called parameters. First, I'm gonna say this RGB fade 1. Okay, and let's try to make a fade function. All right, so I'm gonna do void RGB fade. Okay, and what information do I want to take in? I want to take in the color, right? Or do you want to do the red light, green light, or the blue light? Okay, I want to take the start value, which is like, are we basically what color is it, or what intensity is that color right now in the beginning, and then the end value. Okay, what else do I want to do? I think that's good. And I need to do this, so these are my inputs, the information I want to give, and they're going to be, you have to put the type. For our conversation, we just need to know it's going to be a number that we're going to put in there, so it's an int. So let's make sure you do an int after the commas. So we're saying that, color, start value, and end value is going to be a number, actually, that we're going to give to you. All right. And then let's put our curly braces for the function. All right. I think we're good. We're going to need a counter in here. So inside here, I'm going to make counter variable that's inside my RGB fade. All right, and we're gonna see, the first thing I need to do is figure out, am I incrementing or am I decrementing? Am I going up for the value or down? So I need to do this. I need to say, well, how do I know? Well, if I need to compare the start value and the end value. So if the end value is bigger than my start value, then I know that I'm going up, right? Incrementing. Oh, Yeah, this is kind of a fancy function. So let's go for it. So if I don't know if we've done ifs before, but this is another this is a conditional, okay? Just like the while loop, but it doesn't go in loops. So we're just saying my condition though is if start, and you put in here, this is your question in here, if start value is less than end value. What does that mean? If start value is less than end value, that means I want to increment. I want to go up. Then I'm going to do this stuff. Okay? And I'll put a comment here, increment, or, okay? It means I want to go up. If end value is less than, or maybe I'll just keep it consistent. If start value is greater than end value, then decrement. So if the start value is greater than the end value, you're starting at a higher number, then you want to subtract, or decrement that we use in coding. Okay, cool. So we have that in there. And then let's work on the increment one. So what do we do? If we want to increment, then we're going to say counter equals start value here, right? Because that's what it is. But then we know that we want to go up from the start value to the end value. So let's go here. How did this work? While counter. Okay. So while counter is less than or equal to end value, and what are we going to do in there? It's going to be exactly what we have here. AnalogWrite. Copy this. AnalogWrite. Not red, because it's not always red. It's going to be the color here. So we're going to put the parameter here, information color. So you can put like whatever, it's going to be red, blue, or green. And remember, color is not going to be a word that we're putting in. We're putting in these words, red, blue, and green, but really it's being translated to 3, 5, or 6. That's why it's still an int or a number. Okay, I know it can be confusing, but just remember when we put the word, it's actually translating it to a number. Okay, AnalogWrite color. What else do I have there? Oh, we need a counter. Let's just copy this code. Copy. Okay, so we do counter equals counter plus 1, and then delay. And I think that's it. Okay. All right. And notice the curly braces thing. Now that we have a lot of stuff going on, we want to make sure every time there's an open curly brace that there's a matching closing curly braces here. So these two go together. And then what's this one? This one here is for this one here. Okay. And if you look closely, when you click here, you'll see that this curly brace has a little like box that goes around it. It's trying to tell you that yeah, this one goes with that one. Okay. So it's easy to get confused, but so make sure while you're doing this, like this curly brace for this while loop has a matching one, and then this curly brace for the if the if condition also has one that's matching. Okay, if they don't have matching, everything gets messed up. So make sure you keep your eye on that. Cool. Now for the decrement, it's very similar, right? So if we're going down, we say counter equals start value still. Right? So in the situation where we need to count down, we still start at that start value, but we subtract. So while counter is greater than or equal to, I think it's greater than or equal to end value, right? Then I'm gonna do stuff. AnalogWrite color counter and then counter equals counter minus 1 because we're going down, still a delay 20. Check it out. That is quite the function. Let's check our curly braces. This one there. Okay, and you're like, you might get lost. Like, what is this here? This curly brace is for this one. That's the one that encapsulates or contains the entire function. So don't just like delete it, right? Let's just clean it up. Okay. All right, that's pretty fancy, I think. Let's see if it works. Okay, RGB fade function. So for red on, I guess let's just try it. All right, you know, I'm just gonna get rid of this and just try to use our function. Okay, so I'm gonna say let's go red. Okay, so where's red? Copy. This is no, red is here. 255. Okay, so maybe what I should do is just start with RGB off, maybe. So that make sure that in the beginning of my code I just have everything off, and then I want to turn the red on, right? So then I could do RGB fade and then put in my information, my parameters. So I want to do I need to put the color, which is red. I need to put my start value and end value. So I'm going to start at 0 and go to 255. Okay. And then let's fade it out. Just copy that RGB 255 back to 0. And then I'm just going to get rid of that. Let's just see if that works. So I start everything off, then I fade the red on and fade the red off. Please work. I'm actually not sure because I just wrote this with you guys. Let's see. Okay. Red on. Sweet. I love it. It works actually. Okay. Now this is kind of fun now. Now red, RGB fade, blue. I want to start it from 0 and then go to 255. Okay. So now I'm gonna go red. Okay, I got my red fading on, red fading off, and then blue fading on, blue fading off, and then looks super cool. I think. Okay. Now I'm gonna just get a little complex. What if I'm gonna fade the red on, okay? And once the red is on, I'm gonna fade the blue on. So it's gonna first fade red on, and then the blue will fade on. You're gonna see like different shades of purple until they're both fully on. And then after that, I'm gonna fade the red off, okay? And then then it's just gonna be blue on at that time. And then I'll fade the blue off. Okay, I'm excited because I have this fade stuff going on now. I think I'm gonna get like a red, and then the blue will slowly become purple, and then it'll slowly become just blue again, and then it'll turn off. At least I think it will be. Let's see. Do it. Okay, red coming on. There's my blue coming on. It's, oh, I got some good purple going. And then the red's turning off. Now it's just blue, and then my blue's gonna be off. Sweet. Okay. So, by the way, so like, what we're having here, what we see here, this is what's actually going on your TV. All those little pixels, like it's fading in and out, but super fast, right? But it looks super smooth, so you're not like, whoa, what's going on? Like it's actually like a very pleasant. Like, I don't know about you, it just seems more pleasant. Before it was like boom, 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 right? But with the analog, you get this fading, and it's just a lot more pleasant to look at. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So I know we did it a lot. I mean, this function here, if you're able to understand this, that's really good, because we have this function. Technically, this is what it is. It's a function with parameters, with actually 3 parameters, the information we're putting in, okay, and it has these if clauses, I think they're called, or if statements. I'm forgetting the term right now. Forgive me, but it's got these if statements in there, right? These conditionals, to tell, the code is actually able to tell, are you an increment or a decrement, right? So it's really smart. It's able to tell that, and it's got while loops in there, right? So I think it's a pretty advanced function. So if you need to watch it over again, and kind of get familiar, that's probably a good idea if you want to like slowly just kind of make sure you understand what's going on in this RGB fade function. But once you get that, then this part is super fun, and you can play with that. So the challenge this time would be to let's see here. We want to create function to fade RGB, and then 2, we did that together, right? The 2 will be to do the colors of rainbow fading style. Okay, so before it was just like red and then orange, but how do you, I want it to fade. All right, so red, and then it becomes orange, and so it should be kind of like what we did here, where it was red, and then with the blue combined with the red, it became like purple, right? And then it faded back out and became blue again. So you can, and keep in mind, we have this cool function now, so you can put whatever you want for the start and end value, right? I put 0 and 255 because that's what I'm doing. But if I wanted to do like, oh, red is going to go to 255, and when I later I want to go to 255, not to 0, I still kind of want it on, I could do like 85 or 80, right? So that's why you can do all the colors here with our color picker of the rainbow, because it doesn't have to just be 255 or 0 that you put into your RGB fade function. All right, okay, have fun with that. It's a little bit more of a challenge this week, kind of a focus on coding and loops and everything, but I think it's pretty cool once you get everything working, and so definitely worthwhile. Have fun with that. If you have any questions, of course, I'm always available, and I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.